All right, guys. So we're gonna build up some Tyranid warriors here. Looking through this bad boy, and we're definitely gonna magnetize. The weapon loadout here, we can have some ranged weapons and then some melee weapons. Current, from my understanding, and this is February 1st, 2025. The melee is kind of the way to go with these guys. Whenever you're watching this, that may have changed by that point, but melee is the way to go. However, I like options, and I've got a lot of magnets. So we're going to magnetize everything, and we're going to bring you along that journey there. So we're going to end up magnetizing everything. But for this video, we're just going to do the basic build. I've got 2 kits. So 1 sprue each, so 6 sprues total. I've got them separated out here. So a normal group of 6 would be 1 Tyranid Prime and then 5 Tyranid Warriors. So that's what we're going to end up building here. So very straightforward for body-wise. Posability, I'm going to try to do some modifications to make them stand apart a little bit. We're going to do 3 of them. Well, we're going to do them according to 3 of them will be scratch, or not scratch. 3 of them will be per the instructions, and then the other 2 or the other 3 will not. We're gonna see how well we can pose them up and see what we can do with that. Ignore all the weapon stuff for today. We're just doing bodies and heads for today's process. I don't plan on putting these on. 1, I don't like the look, and 2, they're just going to get snapped off at some point, and then they're going to look even horrible. More horrible, I should say. So we're going to start with the legs and tail, and then I'm going to do the Tyranid Prime just to get him done and out of the way, so then we can move on to just the other 5 regular warriors. Just so there's no confusion. All right, so we're going to get set up. We're going to get going. I try to keep my work area as neat and organized as I can. If you could see to the sides, it's a little more chaotic. To my left, I keep all the paints I'm working with that are currently actively, because it's kind of like my mood type thing. Do I feel like painting today? Do I feel like building today? Type scenario. So I felt like building tonight. It's evening for me. So I felt like building, so we're going to do some building. And I keep projects that are at various stages to the right or to the left of me. So that's why you may see me move some stuff around. A couple things. You will need 1 model sprues, 2 instructions. I keep those off to the side, or just within easy reach. Hobby knife, prefer a sharp blade, fresh blade. Be careful with it. I've got scars from hobby blades. Yeah, just be careful. They're sharp. Normally I cut myself without realizing I'm cut myself before blood is everywhere. I use 2 different sets of nippers. That's probably different than most people. I learned this from, that's a magnet right there. I learned that from doing scale modeling on tanks and aircraft and other things like that. We'll go ahead and I'll show you why here. We're going to look for 52 here. So what I like to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go far away. Because what these nippers do, these are Tamiya just craft nippers. Tamiya makes a lot of models. If you ever use their glue, they make a lot of really high quality stuff. These nippers I've had for, I couldn't even tell you how long I've had these nippers for. It's been years, and they've never let me down. But I normally start far away because what's going to happen is while these are cutting, it's going to be putting pressure on the plastic. And you're going to see I'm going to rotate and flip. I just realized I did it unconsciously, but I want to explain it to you guys. I'm trying to keep the flat edge towards the project. Or towards the, towards the piece I'm working on here. As much as I can. And that way, when you cut, see the white through there? That's stress that's on the plastic. Now, I want that stress to be as far away from the actual piece. Let's say I'm working with a delicate small piece. Like, let's say if I was using these, I want to keep that stress as far away from those pieces as possible so it doesn't break or warp, or for the lash whip, so it's not going to snap off that hook down there. I want to keep that away. And then I'm going to come in with my, and I'm going to butcher the name, but I call them Giuseppe. DSPIAE. They make extremely good product. Again, not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. I buy it because it's good. This is the second pair of nippers I've had for this company. I think these are the 3.0. Let me come around here. Yeah, 3.0. STA 3.0 nippers. Says it real small right there. And these are extremely sharp, and they just cut through this like butter. And then I will get right up on the part and snip. And now there's very little, if anything, I have to file, sand, or do anything with that piece to get it ready for further process. Same thing with this. Get it nice and flush. And there we go. And then up here. So it creates a nice clean cut. I'm going to come through with my hobby knife and very small, very gentle cuts. Any other extra little nibs that are there. And so here's that first one on the bottom. Come on, hands. Focus. I'm trying to do this through the camera here, so bear with me. So there's barely anything for it to catch on there. That's not keeping it flat. Okay? To smooth it out. And then I'm looking for any mold lines. A little bit of mold line there. And now I'm scraping it. I'm just going to scrape it gently with that knife edge. You want to go perpendicular to it. So I'm going to be straight, straight perpendicular. To that edge. Just to get that little pieces off. Okay. Now you're going to see we got like a little burr down here. That was from the piece I couldn't get very well from my nippers. So we're going to come back here, trying to get that one off. It's on an angle. There we go. And then we'll come back. And we'll smooth that out. Okay. Same thing for back here. We got a mold line running right through here. So we're going to come through. Again, perpendicular, straight through it. Just gently put some pressure on it. That's going to pull it off. Okay. So now I've got some little plastic dust, plastic burrs left over. Now what I can do is I can take my Tamiya extra thin and I can just run it down that seam, and that's going to melt that plastic where it was left over. And just let that do its thing. We're going to give it a minute. We're going to do the other side. Back of there. And this dries fairly quick. You're not going to want to touch that glossy area where it's working, because that's going to be tacky. That's going to be sticky because it is glue. It thinks you want to glue those together. Okay. So that's going to cut out a lot of time. Now, if you have large mold lines, if you have a piece that has a large piece of the sprue that you just can't get out with the nippers, either set of them, then, you know, that's where I'll come through with a sanding stick. I prefer the ones that have the foam to get in there and really sand it down. I normally, my go-to is 400 and 800. I have sanding sticks that go all the way up to 2500. If you need to get that sort of detail work done, then you have that available. Unless you're doing fine, super crazy detailed that you want to get that smooth, like if you're doing a competition piece, if you want something to be perfectly smooth, then by all means go to town. But if you're building an army and you need it done, that's what we're going to do. And as you can see, it's done to the touch. It's glossy, but we're not sticking to it, and we can handle it just fine. So that's what I'm going to do basically for all these leg pieces and all these body pieces. I'm going to go through and get those going. So I'm going to do that here for a minute, and I'll bring you back when I start putting stuff together, and we're going to go from there. All right, guys, be right back. All right, so got the 3 regular legs set up, and they're pretty boring. They're just standing there. Yeah. And I got 3 kind of more dynamic. This one is actually balanced, and is kind of more lunging forward, whereas this guy's just standing. It's a little more dynamic where he's kind of leaning forward, and I can adjust the body pose, where the body's just supposed to be standing vertical, from what it looks like in the instructions. So we're going to see what we can do with the body to make these a little more dynamic, whether it's going to be, hold on one second. Sorry, my cat getting into trouble again. It's about to make a crash. Can make it a little more dynamic. This one is definitely more far forward. and is not balanced, but that's fine because it will be once I get it on the base. So we can definitely have some fun with this one. But I wanted to show you how I did it. Because obviously this is a, lock key method here. So, it's supposed to fit and lock into place and voila. So what we're going to do is cut this nub off completely and get rid of those. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, obviously don't do it. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. And then I use sprue goo. If you don't know what this is, it is Tamiya extra thin. Normally I wait till it's down pretty low and I'm barely getting anything out of it. And then I will throw in bits of sprue. I don't have any right now, but I mean, literally, I cut off a bit of sprue and toss it in. And the extra thin will melt it down to this putty-like consistency. You can purchase stuff that's similar to it, like AK makes it. But again, why am I going to spend money when I can make stuff myself? I've already got the Tamiya extra thin. I've already got the sprue. Just do it yourself. Save yourself some money. AK makes some great products, but if you take the time, do some research, you can find there's cheaper ways. And I'm going to show you another product at some point that does it the exact same thing as what you're buying. But I'm going to take a dab of sprue goo and put it around the edge here. And I'm just going to dollop it in. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about, making it look the best. We're going to grab my right leg and think about how I want this to look. So, and then I'm just going to push this on here and I'm going to hold it. So we're going to say kind of in between the other two. We're going to hold it here for a few seconds. Kind of let everything start to set up. Now, because the Tamiya extra thin is mixed in with this sprue goo, it starts evaporating in the air immediately. I can smell it right here, and I'm a foot or so away from it. And we're going to let it start to set up so it can do its thing. Now, it's going to hold there for a little bit, but it's still pretty loose, and you can see how it's kind of gooping out there a little bit. So what I want to do is, and this works especially well with models that are like lifelike, because obviously nothing in nature is going to have a hard right angle. So I'm going to let this, see, it wants to pop back into that socket. There's the socket. It still likes that. So we're going to hold it out of here, and we're going to let that just sit there and set up. This is the boring part. You got to hold your hands steady. What I've also done in the past is off to my right up there, you can see the sanding sponge. I used it yesterday to kind of brace while the sprue goo was setting up. So I was doing other things. So there we go. So now this is still soft and pliable, but it's starting to set up. So now this is where you kind of got to be delicate. We're going to see how this is going to stand, because we're going to try to set up this other one next to it. Okay. So once again, sprue goo. Generous dollop. And this little line that's coming off here, I don't know if you can see it on their buffering, but you can just pull that off and it just comes off. I keep a little towel over here just for that purpose. So we're going to hold this. We're going to try to line it up as close to level as we can with this other foot. Now, it's not going to be perfect at this time because it's still very much pliable. I'm going to look at it head on and kind of see, okay, does it look flat? Does it look like it might stand straight? Yes or no? And it's pretty close. Looking through the camera here, it's pretty close. And we're going to hold it and let it start to set up. Now you just got to be patient with this stuff. If you find that you don't like where it's holding, let's say I was like, oh, this is horrible. See, and I moved the other side. See, noob guy here doing noob stuff. If I didn't like where it was being held, let's say I was like dead set. Oh, this is horrible. I don't like how this is. I don't like where it's going or what it's doing. All I need to do is apply some extra thin, and that will reactivate the goo and we can get our stuff, our sprue goo, going again. So then it softens up and we can readjust it. So now I'm just going to hold both sides here at the angle I like. Slightly higher tail. Okay. Again, this is not precise work. This is not, you know, we're modifying here. So it's not going to be perfect. You know, it's happy little mistakes, like Bob Ross said. We're modifying this past its comfort zone. So it's not going to be perfect. You got to get that out of your head. That's going to be the best it's ever going to be. Now, here I can rest it on there and I can just let it sit. And that's this is actually the next day from all these ones that I made, these 5. This is now the next day. So I'm going to edit this together and do that for you guys. But I'm going to let this guy sit here for the next hour or so till that solidifies. And then I'll bring you back when that solidifies and I'll show you how to clean up any edges or anything like that to make it look more realistic. So, because I think I got some fingerprints on it from where my fingers were touching it and everything else. So I'll bring you back for that. All right, be back. All right, so here's the finished product. We'll zoom back out here. And stands up pretty well, not by himself, but the feet are pretty well flattened out. And then compared to the stereotypical ones, he's got, oh my goodness, he's got slightly more tail lift, just slightly more dynamic. You know, not a huge change, but just enough to make it different. But here's what I wanted to show you. So you can see there, we got a bit of a fingerprint, and a bit of a rough spot. Now, a couple ways we can handle this. One, just take our sanding stick, smooth that out overall. And then there we go. Or what I also like to do is just go back to my extra thin and then go over it and let all that dust and stuff melt into it. Ooh. All right, so we got that one. Now for this other side, I just like to use a generous amount of, to me, extra thin, because one, it softens everything up and it will bring out those, or smooth out all those raised areas. Oop, not on camera there. So these rough areas here, putting that in there, it'll soften it and it'll bring it back. Now if you have a large raised area, come in with the sanding stick and then bring some extra thin back to avoid that. But even for, like here, I've got this tiny mold line. Let's see if it'll focus up. This tiny mold line here. To try to get in with a sanding stick or even with the knife, I'll probably do more damage trying to get that. So just taking the extra thin and putting it through the edges, it's naturally just going to wear that ridge down and smooth it out. So if it's a slight ridge and you're having trouble getting it down with your knife or your sanding stick, there's a little hair on it, just come through with a little dollop of extra thin and you can avoid all that. Get that off the tail. And there we go. So now he's all ready to go. So we're going to let that dry and cure up. And then the next one, we're going to go through and do, next video, we'll go through the chest and the head. And we'll talk about getting some dynamic poses with that. See if there's any modification we can do to make those a little more impressive. All right. So hopefully I'll learn how to edit and stitch these together. And we can, if you're viewing it all as one, then I figured it out. So go me. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Thanks.